Inside the life of a billionaire's pilot. Billionaires are good at time management and would rather pay a huge amount of money for a private plane than put up with the long queues on airline flights. They understand time is money and cannot compromise their schedule for the day, but just what does the life of a private plane pilot look like? Now, that's what we're going to explore today. We will find out the roles private pilots play, the training required to become a pilot for a billionaire, and also the pay a private pilot receives. To find out all these, be sure to watch this video till the end. Here's a look inside the life of a billionaire's pilot. Billionaires' pilots are paid handsomely so that by the time they reach 30 years old, they are already millionaires. This is incredible and makes their life quite comfortable. However, being a private plane pilot is not a career that just anyone can do, and it requires hard work and a lot of training. The pilots also pay considerable fees to acquire enough training and experience. Now, let's see what's inside the life of a billionaire's pilot. One of the aspects of being a billionaire's pilot is license and proper training. A pilot is required to acquire enough training and get awarded a certificate of flying approval. It is also worth understanding that the pilot does not start flying private jets immediately. They have to get more experience before being employed as private pilots. Billionaires have invested a lot and they do not want to put their lives at any risk. That is why a billionaire's pilot should be well trained and have acquired more experience. The pilot flying a billionaire's jet must therefore be more responsible for his work to ensure that the life of the billionaire is very safe. Occasionally, many people tend to believe a private jet pilot and a commercial airline pilot are all the same thing. However, there's a huge difference between the two. A private pilot performs more tasks than a commercial airline pilot. The private jet pilots have to maintain the cleanliness of the plane cabin and know how to deal with their passengers. Sometimes it becomes problematic because some passengers fail to be responsible. For instance, some passengers may cause damage to or alter plane equipment, but they fail to comply when given a bill to pay for the damages. Private plane pilots are also responsible for taking care of their passengers. The pilot has to interact freely with the passengers and tell them more about the journey and how they can react in the case of an emergency. This is because private planes lack cockpit doors. On the other hand, commercial plane pilots perform few duties as they only deal with flying the plane. The different roles are catered for by other plane crew members. Commercial airliners have a cockpit door, hence no other person is required to be in the cockpit, if not the pilot and their assistant. This explains why pilots of a commercial plane cannot interact with their passengers. Another reason for not interacting with passengers is that commercial airlines carry many passengers that might be difficult to interact with. Also, a private plane pilot has to provide the safety speech and store any luggage on his own, alongside taking the role of a flight attendant. Private pilots safely keep luggage for passengers and ensure that they are easily identified to avoid confusion at the time of arrival. They are also responsible for giving safety speeches to passengers when on a flight. Then again, they take the role of a flight attendant by welcoming and greeting all the passengers on board. However, commercial pilots do not need to keep passengers' luggage, provide safety speeches, or welcome passengers on board. Instead, the cabin crew usually performs these tasks. Most of the roles in commercial airlines are performed by the cabin crew. The pilots only fly the plane. Private pilots are always ready for the job anytime, as they can be expected to work even on holidays and weekends. Their schedule is flexible, meaning they have to rearrange their work schedule. For instance, a billionaire's pilot can receive a call from his boss to fly him to a particular meeting any time of the day and any day of the week. Failing to comply with these rules disqualifies someone from being a private pilot. On the other hand, commercial plane pilots have a fixed schedule, and they know the exact time when they should be departing the airport. They also have specific days for working. Private pilots have the responsibility of designing flight schedules and adhering to any changes. They have to check fuel, check the operating system carefully, ensure the aircraft is clean, and refuel the plane for next day travel. Then again, they order transport services between flights. It is therefore essential for a private plane pilot to have good customer service skills. As we have seen, a billionaire's pilot is a private pilot, which means that he can fly anywhere he wants to be because his flight license permits him. The pilot is also qualified in tracking and directing air traffic. This enables private pilots to pursue the role of air traffic controllers. Commercial pilots have job alternatives such as airport managers, accident investigators, commercial drone operators, and aviation safety inspectors. You will be surprised to know that a private pilot is not allowed to fly a commercial airline, and even if he does so, he will not receive any payment for it. Therefore, it is clear that a private pilot's salary is unpredictable and they only receive payment when they fly the plane. Having this in mind, it is clear that there are some days when a private pilot can miss flying a plane. Conversely, commercial airline pilots have a fixed schedule of flights, thus they can easily predict the salary they will earn. Private pilots offer services to professional sports teams, celebrities, and wealthy individuals who own their own jets. The reason why billionaires go for private jets is that they want to save time and travel anytime they are willing. Private jets also offer more comfort than commercial planes. Therefore, being a billionaire's pilot requires much more than just an ordinary pilot. This is why most private pilots fly just for leisure and get paid handsomely just for a single flight. So how much is a private pilot paid? Well, a corporate pilot can be paid a salary of up to $80,000 annually in the US. Unique private pilots who operate planes such as the Gulfstream G650 get paid up to $198,000 annually. It is important to note that these pilots are paid on an hourly basis, and on average they are required to work up to 150 hours of flight per month. Therefore, flying a famous person such as a president requires a pilot who has experience of more than 22 years. A flight experience of over 22 years makes a pilot become a colonel, and colonels are paid about $147,000 annually. Research indicates that most billionaires do not rent planes, rather they own their own private jets and only hire the services of a private pilot. This reduces the overdue cost of renting a plane. Some of the world's billionaires who own expensive private jets include Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who owns a private jet, a Gulfstream 650ER. The plane cost a whopping $75 million at the time when it was purchased. Bill Gates, the Microsoft co-founder, is another billionaire who owns a private jet, Bombardier Global Express. His private plane can carry up to 16 passengers. Also, billionaire Mukesh Ambani owns a Boeing business jet, costing $73 million. His jet has a spacious cabin with amazing amenities like a bedroom, a conference room, and a dining room. Therefore, it is critical to note that private pilots are paid handsomely by these billionaires per flight they travel. That is why the billionaires hire pilots who have more experience in the flying industry, to ensure the flight is always safe. Therefore, a billionaire's pilot is an exceptional pilot who earns handsomely and can work anytime when needed by his boss. It requires high training and a lot of certification to become a billionaire's pilot. This considering that private pilots can pay between $4,000 and $15,000 depending on where they undertake their training. But the essential factor of a billionaire's pilot life is flexibility and good customer service skills. They have to adhere to a flexible schedule, which means that they can work anytime, even on holidays. So there you are guys, inside the life of a billionaire's pilot. And from what we have seen, to be a billionaire's pilot, or rather a private pilot, calls for sacrifice, because private pilots have a flexible schedule and perform more roles than commercial airline pilots. So what's your opinion about the life of a private pilot? Do you think that you'd be able to keep up with the insane schedule? Or if you were going to be a pilot, do you think you'd opt instead to be a commercial pilot? The question honestly poses a lot to consider, as on one hand you make significantly less money as a commercial pilot, but on the other hand you essentially have to be at the back-end call of whoever your employer is 24/7 if you're a private pilot. Let us know in the comment section below.